Very good morning to everyone. So the next session is advanced instruction sets in PLC. The resource person is Mr. Shubhas. So yesterday actually he took the programming language and basic ladder logic instructions. So he is going to continue. So already I have given introduction about him yesterday itself. For the newcomers yesterday, those who are absent, just I briefed him about him. So he's having more than 8 years of experience in industry and working mostly in PLC, SCADA and HMI. He worked in various industries and various positions as application engineer in Technocrat Automation Chennai. And he worked in Beyond Machinery Chennai as a senior automation engineer. And he has also worked as an industrial automation consultant for InnovaSkill Technologies Bangalore. So he's having vast knowledge in the field of PLC, SCADA, VFD, and HMI. So I am very happy to invite him for the session. I'll hand over the session to Subhash sir. Subhash sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Faculty members will join shortly, sir. They are just given a break for them. Mostly they are joining, and mostly they will join shortly, sir. So you can just proceed.
Okay. Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, good morning, friends. So, the remaining things what we are going to discuss now in this session is advanced PLC instructions. Okay, advanced instruction used in PLC and how to use that in different types of programming. Okay, so yesterday we have seen just the basics like NONC contact, how to use that, latching, unlatching, all those things we have seen. So step by step we will see the different other instructions also used. I think you have also seen timers and timers, counters and all. So based on that also we will see some examples here. Okay, and apart from that, what are all the other instructions also, that also we will see. So first, for example, what we are going to discuss now is the different types of datas. So we have to know what are all the different types of datas available in PLC, how the datas will be stored in the PLC, then only we can know what are all the other instructions used in the PLCs. So if you want to know about the advanced instructions like comparator, other functions, you have to know what is this data types first. Okay. So if you take datas in PLCs, generally how it will be means it will be classified into two different things. So there are two different types of data available. One is digital type of data and the other one is analog data. So what is this digital and what is this analog? First I will explain that clearly. So digital means we have only two status in that. Either the input will be on or output. Okay, either the data will be on or it will be off. So how the data will be stored means, if it is on, the data will be stored as 1. If it is off, the data will be stored as 0. So there will be two status only. Either it will be on or it will be off. Now, if you take PLC, if the status is on, it will receive 24 volt DC, and if the status is off, it will be receiving 0 volt DC. So digital means there are only two status. One, either it will be on or it will be off. That is, the status will be 1 or 0. Now we will come to the different examples available in that, like different input types. For example, we have switches. So what will happen in switch means, switch either it will be on or it will be off. Same way, motor either it will be on or it will be off. lamp. Either it will be 1 or 0. So these are all the different kinds of input available in digital. So for storing that digital, we need only 1 bit. So 1 bit is only used to store the status of, that is on status or off status. On means 1, off means 0. So only 1 bit is required to store that. And now we will see what is analog, because in our field process, like in our different industrial process, there won't be only digital. We will be having analog process also. So what is this analog process? How that analog data and all will be available means, first I will give some examples for analog. So the examples for analog are pressure, temperature, if it is tank level, speed. So whatever quantities, whatever physical quantities which are all measurable. So pressure, temperature, level, speed and all, what we have to do, we have to measure it. We have to measure it and it will be in a specific range. So whichever quantities are in a specific range, that and all will be termed as analog. For example, we can take, I have a boiler and I have to measure the pressure or temperature of that particular boiler. So it will start, for example, 100 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Celsius, 150 degrees Celsius. So if anyone asks you, like, what will be the pressure of this particular tank or of this particular pipe, like this, if anyone is asking, you will say like, the pressure range will be from this particular range to this particular range. Like that, you will be specifying all the quantities in a specific range. So whenever you are using a particular range, that quantities and all will be coming under analog. But what are all the quantities you are specifying as on or off, that will be coming under digital. For example, I am saying I want to turn on the motor or turn off the motor, turn on the fan, turn on the different lamp, like that. But if I say whether I will say like turn on the pressure, turn off the pressure, turn on the temperature, like that and all, I cannot say. I will say the pressure is this much. Increase the pressure or decrease the pressure, increase the temperature or decrease the temperature, increase the speed or decrease the speed. So whichever I am saying like increase or decrease or in a specific range means that and all comes under analog. Now, as I said earlier, for digital, we use push button or switch or sensor, like that, digital quantities. For measuring all these specific signals, for measuring these signals, we use some devices. So what are all the devices used to measure these signals means, we will have different types of devices. Like if you want to measure the pressure, we have some pressure sensor or pressure transmitter, temperature transmitter. Temperature transmitter means we have different devices like RTD, thermocouple. For level measuring, we have level transmitter, different types of analog level sensors, like that. So what these devices will do means, it will be measuring that signal and it will be giving the output in a specific range. For example, how the range will be means, level transmitter, tank level is 0%, tank level is 100%, like that. So if it is measuring, how the PLC will be receiving that as input means, that will be in different forms, like either it will be in voltage range or current range. Either it will be in voltage range or current range. Voltage range means what? Means it will be having different specifications here. So some transmitters will be from 0 to 10 volt. 0 volt to 10 volt. Some will be from minus 10 volt to plus 10 volt. Same way, if it is current range means it will be in milliamps, like 4 to 20 milliamps. 0 to 20 milliamps, like that it will be measuring in different ranges. So we will take an example. Just assume this is a tank. Okay, so I have to measure the level of the tank, means I'm using an analog device, analog level transmitter I'm using. Just assume I'm using this analog level transmitter. Now what is the work of this level transmitter? Means it will be measuring the level and it will be giving a signal as the output, and that signal will be any one of this range. So for example, tank level is 0 and 100% like that. So for example, I am using 0 to 10 volt level transmitter. So I'm using 0 to 10 volt level transmitter, means what will happen is, this is a level transmitter. It is going to measure the level of the tank and it is going to give the output. If tank level is 0, what will be the output of level transmitter? Means it will be 0 volt. For example, if tank level is 0, okay, we'll take 0% of tank level, it will be giving the output as 0 volt. Okay, if tank level is 50%, what will be the output of level transmitter? Means it will be 5 volt. If tank level is reaching 100%, the level transmitter's output will be 10 volt. Like that for every range. For example, if tank level is 20%, it will be 2 volt. So like that for every range of the level, for every level, it will be giving some signal as output. Now what will happen? This signal has to be connected as input to a PLC. So if I'm having a PLC here, the signal which is coming as output from the level transmitter has to be connected as input. And where it has to be connected? It cannot be connected like a switch or lamp, switch or push button like that. So it has to be connected in analog input of the PLC. So if I use any one of these devices from this list, that and all has to be connected as analog input to the PLC. So if it is digital input, what will happen? PLC will be receiving 24 volt or 0 volt. 24 volt means on, 0 volt means off. Now, if it is analog, I said there is a range here, 0 to 10 volt or 4 to 20 milliamps. Like that, different ranges are there. So if it is in different range like this, how the PLC will be understanding it? So that for that and all, we have to do something called analog configuration here. So what is this analog configuration means? As we have said, there are different ranges here, right? 4 to 20 milliamps, 0 to 10 volt, or minus 10 volt to plus 10 volt. Like that, different ranges are there. So based on the specific range what we are using here, we have to configure that analog terminal. For example, if you take PLC, in PLC there will be different analog inputs. For example, 10 inputs, 10 outputs, like that it will be. Just assume this is the first analog input. This is first analog input. I have another analog input also. Analog input 2, like that, analog input 3, 4, 5, like that, many things will be there. Now, this is one level transmitter. I have another tank. For example, I'm saying I have another tank. I have to measure same thing. I have to measure the level of this tank. So here also what will happen? There will be a level transmitter. Now, this level transmitter I am connecting as input to the PLC again. Now what I will do, already I have connected one input, and that is analog input 1. This is analog input 2. Now just assume Here, this is generating 0 to 10 volt. This level transmitter is generating 0 to 10 volt. And just assume this level transmitter is generating 4 to 20 milliamps. So how the PLC will know whether it is 0 to 10 volt or whether it is minus 10 volt to plus 10 volt or whether it is 0 to 10 volt or 4 to 20 milliamps, like that means we have to do this analog configuration. That is, there is some settings in the PLC. In that settings, I have to do some configuration. If I give 0 to 10 volt, there is some configuration. If I give 4 to 20 milliamps, there is some configuration. Like that. After configuring the PLC's analog terminal only, we can exactly give this particular range of inputs. Okay, I have configured everything. I have given all these inputs. Now, how the PLC will understand? Like, if it is 0 volt, tank level is 0. If it is 10 volt, tank level is 100. How it will understand means, for that, there is an option called resolution range of PLC. Resolution range of PLC. Now, what is this resolution range of PLC means? Every PLC has its own resolution range. For example, if I am taking Siemens PLC, based on the memory, there will be some resolution range. Okay. So what will be the resolution range of Siemens PLC means it is 0 to 27,648. So this is the resolution range of Siemens PLC. Now, if I am having some other brand of PLC, let's take Allen Bradley PLC. So the resolution range means range will be 0 to 32767. So this is for AB PLC. Like that, for different PLCs, there will be different resolution range. So if it is Omron PLC, it will be 0 to 6000. So what we have to do with this resolution means this resolution range has to be taken for conversion. Like I said, no, PLC is giving 0 volt means it has to take 0 from this resolution range. PLC is giving 10 volt means level transmitter is giving 0 volt means PLC will take it as 0. Okay, just assume I am using Siemens PLC. So Siemens PLC's resolution range is 0 to 27,648. So what it will do, if level transmitter is giving 0 volt, it will take 0. If level transmitter is giving 10 volt, it will take 27,648. Like that, for every resolution range, it will be taking some signal. So what will happen? It will take like this only. It will convert this range analog signal like 0 to, I'm giving 0 to 10 volt means it will automatically convert that to 0 to 27,648, like that. So how it will be converting? It will, if it is 0, if it is generating 0 volt, it will make it as 0. If it is generating 10 volt, it will be taking it as 27,648. If it is taking 5 volt, if it is giving 5 volt, it will be taking half of this. For example, half of this means around approximately around 13,500, like that it will take. So what we have to do, we should not do the program like 100 volt. We cannot do the program like 10 volt or 0 volt, like that. Same way, we cannot do the program like 0%, 100% and all, we cannot do. We have to use this resolution range only. So by using this resolution range only, what we can do is we can do the programming. So by using this resolution range, what we have to do, for example, in my process, the set point is 80%. So the set point of my process is 80%, means what is 80% of 27,648? That I have to take. If my set point is 50%, what is 50% of 27,648? That only I have to take. For example, my set point in this process is 100%, means what is 100% of 27,648? It is 27648, right? So I have to mention 27648 is the set point. Like that only I have to mention. So based on the different brands of PLC's resolution range only, we have to do the program. Now I am saying program. PLC is receiving this analog input. By using this analog input, how it will be working means, how the analog ranges and all will be getting stored means, for that you have a memory called register. So register will have different ranges like 16-bit range or 32-bit register, like that different ranges are there. So based on the range of the value, we have to select it. Either I will use 16-bit register or 32-bit register, like that, based on the range. Okay. Now, how this and all will be accepted by the PLC? How this different range and all will be accepted by the PLC means, for that we have different blocks that only we are terming as analog input and register. So what we have to do is, we have to configure all these things based on the resolution and do the program. Okay, so now the same thing, I will do this with an example. I'm having a tank. In my tank, I'm having a level transmitter. So I have a level transmitter. So what will be the output of level transmitter means, it will be in different ranges, like it will be 4 to 20 milliamps or 0 to 10 volt, like that. Now what I have to do, I have to connect this as input to the PLC. That is, it has to be connected in the analog input of PLC. So for analog input, I'm mentioning AI. Okay, analog input 1, analog input 2, like that. Different inputs are there. But I have only one analog input in the process, so I am connecting that in the analog input 1 terminal of the PLC. Now, how it will be received inside the PLC means, it will be received by using different blocks. So what are all the different blocks available here means, we have a block called comparator block. So what is this? What is the function of a comparator? So comparator is going to compare different values. So here, according to the process, it is going to compare the set point with the present level. So here, present level of tank. Present level of tank will be called as process variable. And I have a set point. Set point is nothing but the desired output for us. So desired output, at which level the process should stop or start, like that. Okay. So what it will do, it will compare. Comparator block will compare the process variable with the set point. For example, just assume in my process, I have to maintain the tank level at 80%. I have to maintain the tank level at 80%. So 80% is my set point. Okay. So 80% is my set point. So what it has to do, it has to compare the present level of the tank. Where the present level is received, The level transmitter is measuring the signal and it is giving the input to the PLC. For example, just assume it is going to give 0 to 10 volt. 0 to 10 volt is given as input to the PLC. Now what we have to do, we have to compare that. Okay, just assume PLC is now receiving 8 volt. Okay. For example, PLC is now receiving 7 volt. 7 volt means what? The tank level is 70%. So how it will compare means by using the comparator block. So we will have a comparator block. This comparator block will be having two different kinds of input. What are all the two kinds of input means? One input will be the process variable. Process variable is nothing but the present level. And the other input is nothing but the set point. So one input is the process variable and the other input is the set point. So what the comparator will do means the comparator will compare both the values, like what is the present level and what is the set point. It will compare. Okay, in comparing there are different types. There are totally 6 types of comparator. So what are the 6 types means? We have equal comparator, we have not equal comparator, we have greater than comparator, we have less than comparator, greater than or equal, greater than or equal comparator, less than or equal, greater than or equal, less than or equal. Totally we have 6 types of comparators. So what is the function of each and every type means? If it is equal comparator, what will happen? When both values are equal, the output will be on. That is, it will give a signal. So how to use a comparator in the PLC program means it will be like this. Just assume I have positive rail and negative rail. Here I am going to use a comparator. So as I said, there are 2 values to be compared in the comparator. One is process variable and the other one is set point. So already we know that our set point is 80. So process variable, from where it will be received means it will be received in the analog input 1 terminal. So that value only will be compared with our set point. Now, for example, according to this process, when the tank level reaches 80, what should happen? I need a buzzer. Okay, I need some alarm that should be on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect this to one output, and this output is nothing but a buzzer or alarm. This is a buzzer. So this buzzer should be activated. So how it will be activated? For example, if tank level reaches 70%, now present level of the tank is 70%, no? So it will compare whether this 70 and 80 are equal. It is not equal means output will not be on. No, I said 6 types of comparator are there, no? So according to our process, what I said, when tank level reaches 80 or more than 80, buzzer should be on. So what I have to do, I have to use greater than or equal comparator. Greater than or equal. So when the tank level reaches greater than or equal to 80, what will happen? The buzzer will be activated. Now what this comparator will do means this comparator will compare like PV, process variable and set point. It will compare whether the process variable is greater than or equal to set point. Now it is 70, right? So 70 and set point is 80. Whether it is greater than or equal, no. So if the condition is not satisfied, buzzer will be off only. Now gradually just assume the process level is getting increased and now tank level is 80. Now it will check whether it is greater than or equal to set point. Yes, because I have given equal also here. So even if it is equal also, the condition is getting satisfied. So what will happen at this stage, buzzer will be activated. Now even if tank level reaches 81% also, now also the condition is satisfied because it is more than 80. So now also buzzer will be on only. Like that, based on the requirement of our process, we have to use these comparators. Now, for example, only at 80% the buzzer should be on, not at 81, 82 and all, it should not be on. Means I have to use equal to comparator. So equal to comparator means when both the values are equal only, the output will be on. So this is the function of comparator. So based on the requirement of our process, we will be using these comparators in the program. Totally 6 types are there. Equal to means when both values, that is present value and set point, when both the values are equal only, it will activate the output. Next, not equal means when both values are not equal, output will be on. Greater than or equal means when both values are when the present value is greater than or equal to set point. So always the value will be compared with the set point only. So if it is greater than or equal, you have to take like this: present value greater than or equal to set point, whether the condition is satisfied. If the condition is satisfied, output will be on, or else output will not be on. So this is the use of comparator block. So here in Siemens, we have, as I said, we have many types of comparators here. I'm using equal to comparator, and one value I'm giving 80, and another value I have to give here. So see here, present level is 0 and set point is 80. Whether output is on? No, it is not on. So I'm changing the level. I'm giving 79. At this time also both are not equal. Output is off only. Now if I give 80 only, what will happen? See, both values are equal. Output is on. I have used equal comparator. If I give 81, immediately it will be off, because both values are not equal. Like that, we can use comparators in the program based on the requirement. What are all the different types available? Means totally 6 types are there: equal, not equal, less than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. So these are the different types of comparator. Now comparator is functioning like this. Next, we have another function, that is another instruction is available, which is called as move. So what is the use of this move block? Means move block, it is used to move the value from one location to another location. Just assume I am having analog input here. Analog input 1, I have one value, that is 70% is available in analog input 1. Now I want to move this value, that is 70%, I have to move from this location to another location. So how it will be moved means we have to do like this. So we have to use a move block. So what is the function of move block? Means it will be moving the value from one location to another location, I said no. So that location, it is called as source. And the other location, it is called as destination. So the function of move block is to move the value from source to destination. The move block, if it is activated, what will happen? It will be moving the value from source to destination. For example, just assume the same process. Okay, in the same process, I have a valve. Okay, I have an inlet valve here. Just assume I have a valve here. This valve is analog. Okay, the type of this is analog valve. Analog valve means what? The valve will be not fully opened or fully closed. It will be gradually opened, like 70% open, 80% open, like that. So so this valve has to be open or it has to be closed this much percentage, like that I have to mention. So if tank level reaches 80, what should happen? This valve should be closed to 10% or opened, like that I have to mention. So what I have to do? Completely it has to be closed means I can give source value as 0. So what will happen? When this block is activated, automatically this 0 will be moved here. Okay, so how to use that? So here digital example I have seen with the buzzer. I have shown you with the buzzer. Just assume I'm going to use a move block here. So what is the function of move block? Whenever it is activated, it is going to move the value from source to destination. Okay, so here my source value, for example, I am giving 0% is my source value. So when tank level is 70, what will happen? It is not in the range, right? It is less than the range. So what will happen? This line will not get activated. Now just assume when tank level reaches 80, what will happen? This will get satisfied. If this condition is getting satisfied, automatically the value 0 which is available in source will be moved to destination. So what is my destination now? I have to control the valve here. So destination is the analog output now. So previously we have seen with digital output buzzer, but now it is analog output. Now what will happen? This analog output has to be connected to the move block output here. Destination is analog output. Now what will happen if 0 is moved here? So 0% will go to the valve. So if 0% is going to the valve, valve will be closed. Now for example, same, I am using a comparator here. When tank level is less than 20%, I need to open the valve completely, 100% open. Okay, when tank level is less than the set point, the tank level should be 100% open. So what I am going to do, I am going to do the program like this, like I am going to give less than, set point I am going to give as 80. Set point is 80 and always present level process variable is in analog input only, no? So analog input 1 I have connected. Now what will happen? It will compare these two values. When this present level is less than the set point, what I said, I need to move 100%. That is, valve should be 100% open. So move source value. I am going to give 100. and this has to be moved to the destination. My destination is now analog output. So what will happen here is when tank level is less than this range, automatically this 100% will be moved to the analog output. Now same way, if tank level is greater than the set point, 0% will move to the output. So what will happen to the valve now means, if tank level reaches 80, valve will be closed. If tank level is less than 80, valve will get opened. So this is how you will be doing the program for analog using this move block and comparator blocks. So I'm deleting this. Now this is one particular thing, like tank level is greater than 80, 0%, that is valve will be closed. If tank level is less than 80, valve will be open. But just assume I have different ranges here. Like I said, 80%, valve will be 100% open, 0%. So I'm mentioning like this, gradually it should be opening. So if tank level is 60% means, so valve should be some 70% open or 75% open. If tank level is 40%, valve should be some 50% open, like that. Okay, we can solve this example like that. Okay, so what is the example here now means, okay, I'll delete all these things. Same example we can take. I have the condition, I'll just write the condition here. If tank level is less than 20, okay, tank level is less than 20%, valve should be 100% open. Okay, valve should be 100% open. Now I have different condition like this. If tank level is greater than, okay, we can take, if tank level is greater than 20 to less than 40%, 80% open. If tank level is greater than 40% to less than 60%, like that I am mentioning. So here I need 50% open. Valve should be 50% open. So valve should be 50% open. Now, if tank level is greater than 60% to less than 80%, valve should be some 20% open. Now, if tank level is greater than 80 or greater than or equal to 80%, what should happen is valve should be 0% open. 0% open means close only. Okay. Now, how to do the program for this type of condition? We can see how to do this. So what is the first condition now? If tank level is less than 20, valve should be completely open. So what I have to do? First, I have to use a less than comparator. Okay. So the comparator what I am using here is less than comparator, and what and all it has to compare? It has to compare two values. One is set point and the other one is process variable. PV set point. So process variable is available in the analog input terminal, and my set point now is 20%. Okay. So if tank level is less than 20, what should happen? Valve should be 100% open. So what I have to do? I have to move 100% from source to destination. So what is my destination? My destination is analog output. So analog output is my destination. So what I have to do? I have to move the value from source, that is 100%. I have to move to the analog output. Same way. Now what is the next condition? If tank level is greater than 20% to less than 40. So how to do this means, for this I have to use two comparator blocks. Like this, two comparator blocks I have to connect in series. How it will be functioning means, here like this comparator is for greater than comparator, greater than, and this comparator is for less than, like this. Now here same, it is going to compare analog input with the set point. What is the set point? Set point is 20, and here what is the set point? Analog input, and here the set point is 40. So what will happen? Whenever the range is from 20, that is greater than 20 to less than 40, at that time only it will activate the corresponding output connected here. So what is the corresponding output which has to be done here? It has to move 80% to the output, right? So move 80 to analog output. Like this it will be. Now same way, what is the next condition? If tank level is greater than 40 to less than 60, what should happen? Valve should be 50% open. So here analog input has to be compared with our set point, 40% to 60%. So after comparing, it has to move a particular value. So what is the value? 50% open, right? So you have to move 50% to the output, analog output. Now same way, what is the next condition? If tank level is 60 to 80. So if tank level is 60 to 80, what should happen? you have to move 20% to the output. So 20 has to be moved to analog output. Okay. Next, last condition, if tank level is greater than 80%, valve should be 0% open. So compare your analog input with set point. Set point is 80%. Only this value is there. So directly you can connect this to the move block. So what you have to do, you have to move 0% to the analog output. So this is how it has to be happening. So this is how you will do the program. Now just I'll execute the same thing. So first, what is our value? Our value is less than 20, right? So I have to use less than comparator. Comparator, I am using less than comparator. One value, set point is 20. It has to be compared with our present level. So next I have to connect this to a move block. So in move block, I have to move which value? For example, 20 means 100 should be moved to the analog output. So this is the first line. Next, in the next line, I have to use two comparators. One is for 20, another one is for 40. So 20 to 40. So greater than 20. So greater than 20 and less than 40. So if value is like this, you have to connect this to a move block. So now how much percentage? 80%. I think it is 80. Yes, 80% should be moved to the analog output. Now same block, same like this. I need greater than and less than block connected to a move block. See here I am giving MW0 and here I am giving 40 to 60, right? So here I need 50% open. Sixty to 80. Now what should happen? It should be 20% open, right? 60 to 40, 20%. And the last one is, if it is greater than 80, 0%. MW0 here I'm giving, and here I'm giving 80, and here I have to connect the move block. So now what should happen? It should be moving 0 to the output. Now see, I will execute this and show it to you. Now initially, what is the value? Initially, if tank level is 80, see tank level is now 81. So value is, if tank level is 0%. See, now what is happening? If I give tank level as 0%, our valve is 100% open. Now if I give tank level is some 25%. See, if tank level is 25%, what is happening? Valve is 80% open. Now if I give tank level is some, I'm giving around 65%. Okay, I'm giving 55%. If I give 55%, see, 50% open. Now, if tank level I'm giving as some, it is 60 to 80, right? I'm giving 75% if tank level, it will be 20% open. See, 20% open. Now, if I give more than 80, if I give 81%, see, 0 is moved to the output. So now tank level is, sorry, valve is 0% open. So this is how we have to use this move block and comparator blocks in the program. So I think you are clear with this analog programming with the help of move blocks and the comparator blocks. So next we will see some more advanced instruction which is called as jump. So what is the use of jump instruction? Means it is used to skip the execution of certain rungs in the program. Skip the execution of rungs. So it is used to skip the execution of certain rungs in the program. So how it will be skipping means, how to do this jump in the program means, just assume I am giving an input and connecting the output. Next here, what I am doing, I am going to use jump. So jump will be activated when the input is activated. Now after jump, what I am doing is, I am going to use some input and output. And for ending that jump, I have to use a command called label. So label is nothing but ending that jump. Jump end. So what will happen here is, whenever this input is activated, this output will be on. If this input is on, this output will be on. Now, if this input is on, what will happen? Even though if you give the input here also, output will be skipped. That is, output will not get activated because jump is on. So if jump is on, what will happen? Even though if you give the input here also, the output will not be executed. It will not be on. But after this jump end instruction, here and all, if you give the input, what will happen? The output will be working normally. So the use of jump is to skip the execution of certain runs. For example, I'm saying, just assume you have a process in your industry in that there are different machines. In that, one particular machine is under maintenance. Now, for 2-3 days, it will be under maintenance only, but the program is available in the PLC, so it should not get executed. So what you can do, if you use this jump instruction, so what will happen, if it is under maintenance, you can activate jump so that that process will not get activated. If it is not under maintenance, you can deactivate that jump. Normally, everything will be working. If jump is off, what will happen? Normally, everything will be functioning in normal conditions. If jump is on, what will happen? Even though if you give the input, these two lines will be getting skipped. So this is the use of jump instruction. So next you have another instruction called MCR. So MCR stands for Master Control Relay or Reset. Master Control Relay or Master Control Reset. Now, what is the use of this Master Control Relay or Master Control Reset? Means this is acting as a control for the entire program what you have did in the PLC. So how to do the program when we use Master Control Reset means, first at the start of your program, whenever you start the program, you have to give input and connect that to one MCR block. MCR. Now after that you can do your normal programs. Input, output you are doing. Okay, now this is your process. After ending that, okay, if you want to end the process, just give end MCR here. So now what is the function of MCR means, unless or until this MCR is on, your process will not get activated. Only when MCR is on, the process will be getting activated. For example, just assume this will act like a main power supply for all these things. Normally in the industries or houses and all, what will happen? Only when the main MCB is on, all the other corresponding inputs and outputs which is connected will be functioning. So there is some fire or some emergency, what you can do, instead of turning off each and every input, for example, there is some fire in your house now. What you will do, directly instead of turning off each and every input, you can directly go to the main power supply and deactivate that. If main power supply is off, what will happen? Everything will be off, right? So same function is only done by this MCR also. If this MCR is on, everything will be functioning normally. If MCR is off, what will happen? It will be like a master control. So everything will be deactivated. So this is the function of MCR here. So next you have another instruction called call or subroutine. So what is the function of call or subroutine means? You can have multiple pages in your program. It is not like you have to do only single page program. You can do multiple pages in the program and activate the other pages from the main page. Okay. For example, just assume this is one page. and these are all the other sub pages. Okay, just assume this is a paint mixing process. Okay, so in this paint mixing process, just assume this is for red color, this is for blue, and this is for yellow, like this, and this is normal for white paint. Okay, so I have some program here. So if this input is on, the mixer motor should be on, some chemical that should be getting open, valve should be open, like that. Some process is available here. Okay, now what you can do is, with the use of this call or subroutine instruction, you can activate, you can do as many as section of programs, n number of programs you can do in different pages, and all the control of these different pages will be available in the main page only. For example, just assume now this is for white, I said, no, like that. Here I will give input, and this is for red. Okay, just assume this is for red. Same way, I have one input for blue and another input I have. This is for yellow. So instead of doing a lengthy program in a single page, I can activate only which is required. Now, if I activate, I need only red color. So for red color, what I have to do, for example, I am saying white and red should be mixed to get some output. Okay, just assume I want orange color now. Okay, for getting orange color, I have to mix red and white. Okay, I have to mix red and white to get orange color. So what I will do, I will activate only this red color program and this white color program. So only that will be functioning and I will receive the output. Now, for example, I need black color. Okay, so I need black color means, for example, I am saying I need to mix red, blue, and yellow. For example, I am saying all the three things I have to mix, then only I can get black color. Means what I will do, I will activate all these three things, but I will deactivate white. Now what will happen if all the three things are mixed? I will get black color. Now for example, I want brown color. So I want brown color means I'm, for example, red, white, and blue should be mixed for brown color, like that. For example, I am saying. Now what I will do, I will activate blue, red, and white. So what will happen, whichever process is necessary, I will activate. If it is not necessary, I will just deactivate in the main page. This is my main page. Okay, this is my main page program, and all the other things are my sub page program. This is sub page program. So the control of all the sub page program will be available in main page only. Unless I activate this, this will not get executed. If this is off, definitely this will also be off only. Even if you give the input also, it will not be functioning. So this is the use of subroutine or call instruction. Whichever is necessary, you will call from the main page. If it is called or activated only, the subpage program will be functioning. Okay, so this is the use of subroutine instruction. So next you have normal math functions. In math function you have addition, subtraction, multiplication and division block. Totally 4 different types are there. So how this will be functioning means, if I give one input, only when the input is on, it will do the addition operation or any operations. So addition block means ADD. So it has to add 2 values and it has to store in the result. Okay. Operand 1, operand 2, and the last one is the result. So what will happen if you give a value here? I am giving 80 and here I am giving 90 means, if the input is on, what will happen? It will add the value and give the output in the result. Like this, subtraction, multiplication, division blocks are also available. Like this only it will be functioning. You have to give one input and connect it to the different corresponding blocks: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, like that. Okay, so this is how it will be functioning. So these are the different functions available. So what and all we have seen? We have seen comparator. We have seen move blocks. We have seen math function blocks. We have seen jump. We have seen call function, that is subroutine, and we have also seen MCR. So these are the different functions we have seen now. Now we will see one example. Okay. So on real-time example, like I have a chemical mixing process. Okay. So I have a chemical mixing process here. So in this chemical mixing process, what I have to do is, there are 2 different chemicals here. One is from inlet valve, another one chemical is from inlet valve 2. One chemical is coming from inlet valve 2, one chemical is coming. Both should be mixed, okay, using this stirrer motor. And what will happen? This steam valve will produce some steam here, so it will be getting boiled also. So after that, after mixing, what should happen? This outlet valve should be opened and it will come out. So for starting and stopping the process, we have start and stop push button here. Next, we have some time delay also. So time delay means, in yesterday's concept and all, we have discussed just like if input is on, what should happen? Output should be activated. Like this only we have discussed. If switch is on, directly what will happen? We will have an output. This output will be on. But if you use timer, what will happen? After some delay, the output will be activated. So how to connect? If you have timer, how to connect means, input you have to connect like this, switch, and connect this to a timer first. Okay, so this is a timer. So for timer, you have to give some address like T0, T1, T2, based on the number of timers you will give maximum values. Now, how to connect the output now means, this timer feedback you will take as input and give it to the output. This is your output. Now here what will happen? If switch is on, immediately output will be on. If switch is off, immediately output will be off. But here what will happen? Switch, I have given it to timer. For example, I am giving 10 seconds delay timer means, if switch is on, after 10 seconds, what will happen? This feedback will be on. If feedback is on, after that only output will be activated. So for this, how to do the program, we will see now based on this timer, because timer is also available in this function. Okay. So what is my first process? In my first process is like, if start push button is on, inlet valve should be open. Okay. So I'm doing here itself. So if start push button is on, what should happen? Inlet valve should be open, right? So I can connect the inlet valve directly here. Okay. Now what I have to do, since the start push button will not give a continuous input, I will latch this inlet valve. So what will happen if start push button is on, inlet valve will get opened. Now after 10 seconds, what should happen? My next condition, after 10 seconds, inlet valve 2 should be open. See, when I press start push button, this inlet valve should get opened. So what I can do, instead of connecting like this, I can also give a memory here. Instead of inlet valve, what I can do, I can directly give a memory, because this memory will store the status of this push button. So memory I am latching. M0 means memory. So what I am doing, start push button, I am going to give it to a memory, and that memory status I have latched. Now this memory I am going to give as input to the inlet valve. So inlet valve 1 is open now. When start push button is on, inlet valve 1 is open. Now what is the next condition? After 10 seconds, what should happen? Inlet valve 2 should open and inlet valve 1 should close. So I need a 10 seconds. Okay. So same memory I'm taking as input, and I'm going to give it to a timer. Okay. So this is timer T1. Okay. First timer. So this is going to give 10 seconds delay. Okay. So what will happen, if start push button is on, inlet valve will open and 10 seconds timer also will be on. So after 10 seconds, what should happen? Inlet valve 2 should be open and inlet valve 1 should be closed. So I am taking the feedback of this timer T1 and I am going to connect this to the output. What is the output? Inlet valve 2. And at the same time, inlet valve 1 should be closed, no? So what I have to do here, I have to put T1, because after 10 seconds only it should happen. So I have to take the feedback of T1 as NC. So that what will happen, after 10 seconds it will be getting closed, and after 10 seconds it will get opened. Now what is the next condition here? So the next condition is, after another 10 seconds, inlet valve 2 should get closed and steam valve should open. So what is happening when start push button is on, inlet valve is open, it is open for 10 seconds. After that, this is closed and this is open for 10 seconds. So chemical from this will flow for 10 seconds. After that, this will close. Chemical from this inlet valve will flow here for 10 seconds, and this will also be closed. After that, what will happen? Steam valve. Steam valve means it will produce a steam. It will heat the chemicals here. Okay. So this should happen after 10 seconds. So what I am doing here, I am taking another timer and I am giving the previous timer as input here. So what will happen? After this first is 10 seconds only, next 10 seconds will get started. So here I am giving timer T2. This is also for 10 seconds. Now what will happen after this time delay? inlet valve 2 should get closed. So I am putting T2 as NC before inlet valve 2, and I am taking the feedback of T2 and I am going to connect this to the steam valve. So after this 10 seconds, steam valve should get opened. Now what should happen is, again another 10 seconds. After that 10 seconds, what should happen? Steam valve should close and again inlet valve 1 and 2 should open. Okay, after 10 seconds, steam valve should close. So another 10 seconds delay I am creating with the help of this timer now. So this timer is giving 10 seconds now. So that I am taking as input and giving it to the next timer T3. Now what should happen? After this time delay, steam valve should get closed. Steam valve should get closed and inlet valve 1 and inlet valve should open again. How will you open? You have to connect a parallel contact of this T3. So what will happen after this time delay? These two will get opened. T3. Now what is the next condition? After another 5 seconds, again this inlet valve and both the inlet valve should close, and next is stirrer motor will on. Stirrer motor means mixing motor. This mixer motor will be on now. After 5 seconds, that mixer motor should be on. Inlet valve 1 and 2 should get closed. So another 10 seconds I am creating with the previous timer T3. I'm going to give it to T4, timer 4. This is 10 seconds and this is 5 seconds timer. Now what should happen? I have to give it to stirrer motor T4. Give it to stirrer motor. So this stirrer motor will be on. At the same time, inlet valve 1 and inlet valve 2 should be closed. So here I am putting NC of T4. So now what will happen after this time delay? The stirrer motor is on, and after another 10 seconds, what should happen? Stirrer motor should be off and outlet valve should open. Stirrer motor should be off and outlet valve should be open. So another 10 seconds I am giving. So take the previous timer as input T4 and connect it to 10 seconds timer T5. This is giving 10 seconds. So what should happen? Outlet valve should open. Using T5, you have to open the outlet valve. And at the same time, what should happen? This previously opened this stirrer motor, that is previously on stirrer motor, should get off. Stirrer motor should be off. Okay, so how to turn it off means with the help of T5. So after this T5, timer 5, what will happen? This stirrer motor will be off. Okay. So step by step I will execute. I will show you. I will explain you once again. What is the first condition? When start push button is on, inlet should get opened. So in order to latch it, the start button, what I have did is I have connected the start push button to a memory, and that memory I have latched. So with that memory, I'm giving input to the rest conditions. Okay. So this memory, I'm connecting it to inlet valve. See here. So what is happening? start push button is on, memory will be on if memory open. Next condition, after 10 seconds, what should happen? So after 10 seconds, what should happen is inlet valve 2 should get opened and inlet valve 1 should get closed. So I am taking a timer with the same memory, connecting that timer as input to inlet valve 2 and for deactivating inlet valve 1 as NC here. Now what is the next condition? After 10 seconds, inlet valve 2 should get closed and steam valve should get opened. So after 10 seconds, inlet valve 2 should get opened and steam valve should get closed. Okay. So here I am taking another timer and connecting as input to steam valve and I am deactivating the inlet valve 2. So same way I am taking another timer for 10 seconds, deactivating the steam valve and I am activating the next stirrer motor. Okay. Same way again these two valves are open, inlet valve 1 and inlet valve 2 are open. So I am connecting a parallel connection here. After another time delay 10 seconds, what should happen? This T4, this will be again deactivating inlet valve 1 and 2. And at last what is happening? Another one timer, stirrer motor will be off and outlet valve will get opened. So this is the complete process. Now if you want to stop everything, you need stop push button, right? So don't forget here you have to put the stop push button. So if stop push button is on, what will happen? If memory is off, everything, the corresponding outputs, everything will get deactivated. So this is how it will be functioning. Okay. So I think the topics which you have covered today, it is clear for you. So what and all we have discussed means we have discussed the different types of data available, digital and analog data. So what is resolution and what is register, all these things we have discussed, and how that register, with that we are connecting with different blocks, like how the analog input is received inside the PLC with these blocks like comparator block, move block, all these things. We have seen one example also with the analog process. So apart from that, we have seen math functions, jump, subroutine and call function, MCR, and at last now we have seen one example, a real-time industrial example for chemical mixing process. Okay. So I think this is clear to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now.
So good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
You are using a comparative section for level tagging, sir.
Yes, yes.
Instead of comparator, we can use limit test instruction.
Yeah, we can use limit test also, but in limit test, what will happen? You are saying no, two comparators I have used. In limit test, with one limit test block also, we can do that function. It can be done. You are setting a range now, low limit, upper limit, and the test value you are giving.
Yes, yes, sir.
So that also we can use.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other queries from participants, sir? So if no means, we'll wind up this session. Sir, thank you, Subhash, sir, for your wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. It was really very useful, and but still, I think if you have some time, you might have covered PID instructions also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because many more examples also we can take. Yes.
Let me see, sir. If there is any time permits, we'll contact you, sir.
Okay, okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. And participants, kindly give the feedback for the second session of today's. And the next section begins after the lunch break at 2 o'clock. And Dr. Jaychitra will give about practical hands-on training on the instructions, PLC instructions. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.